Hi, this is Ron Burke from Gaming Trend and
Ashraf Ismail, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag game director.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Black Flag. Obviously, brand new character, brand new world. So tell us a little bit about Mr. Kenway.
Yeah, so Edward, obviously grandfather of Connor from AC3, father of Hytham. Edward is a British man who grew up in a poor stock, so he's very poor. But he's charismatic and he's charming and he's a bit brash, and so the lure of fame and fortune was very strong. And so he becomes a sailor in the Navy, very quickly turns to piracy because again he sees this fame and fortune capacities. And so that's how we start the game. We start with him being a pirate. Very quickly he stumbles into the Assassins and Templars conflict inadvertently. He does something which is a bit bad, and so he has to kind of make up for that, and the Assassins decide that they want to train him because of their own reasons. And this is the story we kick off. At the end of the day, the story that we're telling with Edward it's a very human story. The idea is that he's not a superhero, he's not going to save the world at the end of the day, he's not going to save the Assassins at the end of the day. He's trying to figure out who he is in life and what brings him happiness. And it's really kind of a tale of finding oneself. And I love this tale because it's a bit more subdued, but Edward is a really exciting character. He's bigger than life, and he meets these really amazing people like Blackbeard and Benjamin Hornigold and Charles Vane, and these are people that he attaches himself to find mentorship to who am I in life, and the story progresses from there, and I mean that's who Edward is.
So you mentioned some characters from kind of history. Assassin's Creed has always had kind of a historical connection where the people that you assassinate, that's when they really died, on the day that they died. So does that persist in this game as well?
Of course. We always say history is our playground. So we don't tell real history. We are historic fiction, but we tell credible history. Something that, we have a rule set that if you can find something in about 10 seconds online, then we try to stay true to it. So we don't break that rule. If it takes you 30 seconds, a minute, we might fudge it a little bit. We have the room to do that. That's kind of our internal rule. So for sure, things like the death of very big characters, we try to stay very accurate to them in terms of when it happened, even how it happened. And yes, this stuff persists, even the events that happened, the backdrop to all of this, to the tale of Edward and the Assassins and Templars, the backdrop is the Pirate Republic. Mm-hmm. And this was a really amazing time. A lot of really amazing events happened during this time.
The golden age of piracy.
The golden age of piracy, exactly. How these lawless men and women all of a sudden decided to disband from their monarchs and to create their own republic, a democratic society, and it failed, and very, very spectacularly. And so we show a lot of these events, and we try to stay true to the accuracy of them. And Edward does get involved into these events, and it's a really cool backdrop to tell an AC game.
Okay. So there hasn't been a lot revealed about how this connects to the real world. I saw some fragments in the real world. Are you guys talking about that yet, or no?
Yeah. I mean, you start the game in the present day. You start the game as an employee of Abstergo Entertainment. You're someone who's hired to research the life of a man named Edward Kenway. You're not really sure why. You're just told we're looking for data on pirates, and this is a good man to research. As you progress through the game, you start realizing that, you look behind the veil and you start seeing that there's a nefarious reason behind all of this. Edward did something in his past that is really valuable to both the Assassins and the Templars, and this is what you're really looking for. And you start really understanding, what is the purpose of all of this. And for sure, we pick up right after AC3. Desmond's story ended in AC3, so there's a lot of side content, a lot of optional content that you can dig into in Abstergo Entertainment. It's a mini open world. Mm-hmm. When you explore this world, you can find a lot of content about what happened to Desmond after AC3, where all of this is going. We have a lot of fun with the mythos of the universe. We flesh a lot of it out. It is optional though, so it's really there for the fans who actually care about that stuff and want to find it. You're not forced to actually find that stuff.
Okay. Speaking of finding stuff, there's a lot of stuff that made a return for this, but there seems to be at least triple that in new stuff. Like I stumbled across just a little pirate island, had a dead pirate on it, looted him, found a map, just started digging around. Can you tell us a little about some of the new things that are added?
Yeah, when we decided to start this game, or when we started this game, we decided we're going to make a pirate game. We had everything in place to do a real bigger than life, like a really definitive pirate game. So because of this theme, it pretty much forced our hand to work on a lot of new features. So for example, boarding system. The boarding system, it's systemic. You can board virtually every ship in the game from any angle, any way. This was a huge effort from our side. But then a lot of smaller features as well, like the treasure maps. Even though pirates didn't actually have treasure maps, that didn't actually exist, we felt that it's a fun part of a game to have a treasure map and to look for this drawing and to find that treasure and have that treasure have value for you. Another brand new system that's actually really huge is the progression system. The Jackdaw, it's your ship. You can upgrade it. You take it on this. You go on the journey with Edward with this ship. So there's a lot of weapons to upgrade, a lot of defenses to upgrade. You can upgrade the crew, and all of this is actually purposeful to get you to have a strong reason to explore the world itself. That's another thing that's new, is the way we've built the world. It's really huge. There's a lot of diversity. It's a naval sandbox. There's a lot of events, a lot of stuff that teases you and kind of keeps pulling you off of the main beaten path. And to promote this, to add that level of exploration, we had to give you a purpose to do it. It wasn't just, I want to see the new island to see the new art. It's actually because that island has something I need. And so all these layers get you to really try to find every nook and cranny of this world. It's all tied again to the progression system of the Jackdaw and Edward himself. You can upgrade Edward, the guns he carries, the number of guns, his health. These are all things that you can upgrade. So there's a lot of new stuff. I think people are going to be very surprised with how this game feels. I think it's going to be very fresh and very unique. But it's going to have the comforts of AC. You're still going to feel like you're this third-person action-adventure game playing an assassin. But then all the context around it is going to be really unique and fresh.
So I did get to see a little bit of the second screen experience at E3 with having maps on a tablet or something like that. Yeah. What other sort of interaction is there with that second screen?
Yeah, so the most basic concept, what you just said, is the world map. It's a live update with the game, so you can put waypoints on it. You can see events happening on it there. You can zoom in and all of this, of course. And if someone is with you in the room, they can act as sort of your quartermaster doing this stuff for you, which is cool. Of course, you have access to the database. You have access to your treasure map, so you can always pull up your treasure map. Instead of doing it in-game, you can have it with you right there, so you can look at the world and look at the map at the same time. The real extension of the companion app is Kenway's fleet. So Kenway's fleet, when you board a ship in the game, you can choose, one of the options you can do with it is actually send it to your fleet. In the game, you can send this fleet onto missions. So you can send them around the world doing pirating and plundering for you.
It's almost like the assassins that you would recruit in 3, and you could send them to go do objectives to ramp themselves up.
Very similar. The system that we started with was similar to that. It's drastically changed because now you're dealing with ships and doing naval combat and all of this. But yes, it's reminiscent of that system. So you send them to plunder outside of the world. You can do this in game, of course. On the companion, you can actually jump into those missions. So you can send them on missions from the companion app, but then instead of just having it be kind of an automated mission that comes back after a timer, you can jump in those missions and actually complete them for bonus rewards. And of course, you can do this outside of your living room. So you can be on the bus doing this, so that by the time you get to the game or get back home, you have these new resources that are now, you can use them in the game.
It wouldn't be fair if I didn't ask. So both iPhone or iPad, iOS devices, and Android?
Yes, iOS and Android. Yep.
Okay. So one of the other things that I noticed is that the naval combat is definitely amplified a bit. In the third one, you take on maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 ships. Coming off the very first mission, I want to say I had 6 ships circling like sharks. So talk to me a little bit about how the naval combat has changed.
Yeah, the naval, we were super thrilled and excited with what AC3 was pushing. So very early when we saw the first prototypes, we knew there was something special there. But the biggest difference was that in AC3, these were optional missions that were linear. Making a pirate game, it means that the naval part is part of the core experience. It's one of the core elements that you're doing in the game. So it had to be open world. It had to, the player can come in from any angle, any direction. We wanted to, make it thrilling to be able to navigate and to sail the ship and to do naval combat for many, many hours. So we had to give it a lot of depth. So everything from the controls to the enemies you fight to the number of ships to the archetype of ships, these are all things that we worked quite heavily on. We spent a year of just pure R&D trying to figure this out. So I've mentioned before, you know, the Jackdaw has 7 weapons. All of these things you can upgrade, and all of them have tactical value. Early on in the game, you're going to meet the smaller ships, so like gunboats and schooners, and maybe you start getting into the brigs. As you go deeper into the game, you start meeting more frigates and then man-of-wars, and you at some point you're going to have to master the skills of combat and the tactical skills of combat, because you're going to be facing, you know, at first it's going to be a very low-level man-of-war, and that's going to be a challenge. But then by the end of the game, you're fighting, you know, 2 or 3 even man-of-wars at the highest level, and these guys are protecting a really amazing, you know, cave that has a lot of really good loot for you, and you have to defeat them to get that loot. And so we've created a really cool progression system, a really cool challenge system. This is something that's new for AC, to have enemies that you just can't kill in one shot. You know, previously it's all the enemies were human, and you're an assassin. Now, dealing with inanimate objects like ships, all of a sudden we can really push the challenge level, we can really push a progression system. And like I said, the controls are all brand new, a lot more skill involved. You have to learn to use the ocean as well. You have to be using the waves for defense. Right. If there's a storm, when you master the storm, you can have an advantage over your enemies, because they can't handle the storms as well as you. So there's many layers of strategic choices the player will have to get into and understand. I don't want to scare people by making it sound like it's too heavy.
No, it's actually really simple. What I noticed when I jumped in, literally with no practice whatsoever, where you look is where you shoot. I mean, it's pretty much shooter controls. Left trigger aims, right trigger pulls the fire on the cannon, so, or drops explosives or whatever else.
Exactly. We worked really hard on making it as intuitive as possible. You know, for sure, I think one of the things that's going to surprise people is we have naval combat, and all of a sudden you're Edward free running on a rooftop and taking out targets and doing fighting and doing stealth. And these could be really drastically different systems from a mechanical point of view. But the goal was that the experience of playing this game was cohesive. Driving the ship, to doing a boarding, to being Edward running on land, I never wanted that break of immersion. We never wanted you to feel that it was not intuitive, and so we worked very hard on the controls to make it feel that intuitiveness. And you know, I talk about it a lot, but at this point people can actually play it. You can actually play it, and you can tell us if we got it right or wrong, but I really feel like
you definitely got it right. The
awesome.
Controls are fantastic. Vastly improved over 3.
Awesome, thank you very much. Like I said, we spent a year of just pure R&D, trying different prototypes, play testing a lot, getting a lot of feedback from people, and just working on it, working to really find that beautiful balance between skill and challenge and intuitiveness in the controls.
Now, in the overworld portions where you're off the Jackdaw, what have you guys done to make it where it's not, you know, I mean, this is not it may be titled 4, but it's not the 4th Assassin's Creed game, right? So what is it that's different about this one when you're in the overworld that doesn't make it just, well, I got to hit this collection point, and then I got to hit this sync point, and you know, that kind of checking off the check boxes?
So one of the biggest differences, as I've mentioned before, is the progression system. So to upgrade the Jackdaw, you need cash and you need cargo resources. You can get this from plundering ships, but there's a lot of places on land where you can also get it. And so what this does is it actually gives a completely different motivation to doing a lot of this stuff. So now when you do a viewpoint, when you sync a viewpoint, it's not just to check it off the box and say, okay, I reviewed the map. It's actually because you don't know where the cargo exists on this land. So all of a sudden you're doing it for a different purpose. Beyond just that, I would say that we worked really hard on stealth. We know that there was a need from the community that we improve the stealth in this game. So we actually worked a lot on the tools that Edward has, the capabilities, all the detection system has been very simplified to make it more clear when you're being detected, when you're not being detected. So we worked very hard on that. The layouts of the environments, you know, we've now we have a mastery in building these man-made structures, but because of AC3 with running in trees in the frontier, all of a sudden now we're mixing a lot of the natural environments with man-made structures, and it gives a really unique feeling to the different worlds. You know, like running in a coconut island, I think is one of the most unique maps we've ever built in an AC game, all the way to a Mayan ruin, which is a really good mixture of natural and man-made structures. Anyway, all of this goes to say that I think the world feels really unique. I think people have never ran through a world similar to ours. We have a very different atmosphere, very different vibe, and I think it's really exciting because it's in the Caribbean. It's really lush and beautiful, and you know, I think it's really one of the most beautiful games we've ever built.
I think I'd have to agree. It is visually phenomenal. Congratulations. I think you guys have done an amazing job.
Thank you very much. I love hearing that.
Thank you very much.